What's up, y'all? Jake here, and today I am going to be breaking down these Maui wildfires. And whenever I hear the term wildfire, the first thing I like to do is replace it with the term arson. But before we get to that, let's go ahead and hear what the MSM has to say about these supposed wildfires. Let's roll them.
Wildfires scorching Hawaii's Maui and Big Islands have killed dozens of people, left behind smoldering ruins, and forced thousands of residents and tourists to flee. On Friday, the state's governor called it the worst natural disaster to ever hit Hawaii. But how did these fires become so devastating? The cause of the blazes was still not clear days after they began. The fires have hit large parts of Lahaina, a beach resort city of about 13,000 people on northwestern Maui, especially hard. It sits in the relative middle of the 8 main islands that make up Hawaii's archipelago. What experts do know is that conditions were ripe for wildfires there before they sparked off on Tuesday.
All right, let's cut it right there. So I noticed a lot of the video clips they used look like they're more production, look like it's more for cinematic value than it is actually showing the damage. So let me go back and show you like what I'm talking about. So there's this one shot where they show like a burnt up bike. There it is. So they want you to see, look at this burnt up bike. See stuff like this when they focus in on a bike, they want you to think, oh yeah, well, my child rides a bike, and oh, it's so sad this community burnt down. And so they can show these certain objects, and this won't be the first one. So here we got burnt up bike shown for dramatic effect. Then they jump forward to this family right here, right? So we're to believe that the news showed up, and right when they started filming, this family who, like, we're supposed to believe like their whole house is burnt down and they're driving away crying and stuff. Like, look at this. This is a total production right here. Like the news crew set up, and the second they started filming, oh, this family happens to be driving on by. Sure, man. And then what's this guy spraying? He's just spraying like a spot that's already been put out. There's no flames. Shouldn't you be fighting the fire? Shouldn't the fireman be fighting the fire? No, you're just spraying some water on one spot that's already put out, right? Making sure that that one spot doesn't reignite the blaze, right? Good work, fireman. So they're going to film this fireman shooting his hose into the ground, right? Then we get some shots of what looks like a forest fire. This could be from anywhere. They could take this shot that happened years ago in California and now repackage it and say that this is Hawaii. So whenever I see an aerial shot like this, I have no idea like if this is Hawaii or not. This could even be CGI flames for all I know. I mean, they can do CGI flames and say, look, Hawaii is on fire. The whole island is an inferno. But in reality, there might not even be a fire like this. There might not even be one this size. So before I jump the gun and start even thinking that there's a gigantic fire, I just want to point out that this footage could be totally doctored and manipulated. So when I see structures on fire and I see that these structures have been burnt down, I think, okay, this could definitely be a case of arson. So these fires could be set on purpose, but I'm not going to believe just because the news says so that these are wild, naturally occurring fires. So when I see buildings like this, all on the same block, all burning up, I automatically think arson. Now, there's a number of ways to start fires. Some people are going as far as to jump right to like direct energy laser beams and weapons, laser beams from the sky, stuff like that. Before you jump the gun there, you can start a fire literally with like a gasoline, a lighter fluid. So just a lighter fluid and some gas can start a fire. So you could theoretically, with a team of 10, 20 people, start 10, 20 different fires at once and then say it's wildfires. So there's lots of ways to start a fire, like I mentioned. They even have drones now, flame throwing drones. So you can drop flammable material out of a helicopter or out of a plane. So there's so many different ways to start a fire on purpose. So whenever I see whole areas decimated and then other areas left completely untouched, and they're saying it's wildfires, instead of the term wildfire, that's when I substitute arson, and it seems to fit much better. Now, let's hear what this supposed expert here, this guy here is going to be the supposed expert, going to tell us all about how the conditions were perfect for a wildfire. Let's hear what this plant has to say.
D2 severe drought for the season, and the risk for large fire potential was higher there than it was in California.
That's San Jose State University meteorology professor Craig Clements. The National Weather Service had also issued warnings for the Hawaiian Islands for high winds and dry weather. Add to that the unusually high temperatures this summer, in part due to climate change, in part due to the El Nino warming event.
Okay, so their story is because of climate change, Hawaii is in a bigger drought than California. First off, I live in California, and there's desert-like conditions in parts of this state, and Hawaii is nothing like that. So Hawaii is a green tropical paradise, and it cannot be compared to California, which is a gigantic state. So California has mountains, it has desert, it has flat farmland, and it has a big, gigantic coastline, which differs from north to south. So, trying to compare California's drought to Hawaii, it's not really a comparison. There's parts in the desert where there's extremely dry brush that can be lit up in California, much more so than a tropical island out in the middle of the ocean. So they're trying to act like this green tropical island has been struck by climate change so much that it's perfect conditions for wildfires. And they're specifically using the term climate change, like, yes, this fire directly because of climate change. And I'm going to say that, in my opinion, that's pure bullshit. Don't buy it at all. There's places here in California, such as Pacifica, right next to the ocean, where all summer long the temperatures are 60 degrees. So I can show you towns in California where it stays in between 60 and 70 the entire summer. But they're going to want to tell you out in Hawaii, because of climate change, it got so hot that now it's perfect conditions for a wildfire that jumps back and forth from structure to structure. Not buying it. And you can see they're using these computer graphics, like adding a bunch of red. They just added some red to the screen right here. Oh, you see how dry it is? We're going to add red to the screen. See? Hawaii's dry. Of course, wildfires are sparking. Look at all the red that they added to the screen digitally. So when you really break it down, this whole Hawaii wildfires thing, there's foul play involved. And if there is fires ripping out of control, it's because they were set purposely, most likely. And those fires are left to burn specific businesses on purpose. Okay, let's continue.
So these conditions all lined up with kind of a classic fire weather situation. It just so happened that there was ignition during the high wind event, allowing a very fast spreading fire to burn into the community towards the coast.
U.S. weather officials say winds from Hurricane Dora have fanned the flames across the U.S. state. coming from hundreds of miles southwest of the Hawaiian Islands in the Pacific Ocean. Separately, a low-pressure system to the west near Japan has also contributed to sustained high winds. These all become a serious problem when they reach Maui's very steep mountain range.
The winds were coming from the northeast, and they were very strong winds. They were descending, going up and over the mountain range and descending what we call the lee side. And when that happens, you get acceleration near the surface.
Okay, so they're really going to push the weather narrative. It's the weather. These winds came in. Perfect conditions for a firestorm. Well, the weather is controlled. So anyone who's followed my channel for a long time, you already are well aware that the weather is controlled. They can make it rain. They can make it hot. They can create a storm. They can move the storm. The proof is out there. I've shown on my channel out in, I think, Mississippi, they have a machine with a NASA logo on it that can make a rain cloud artificially and make it start raining. So it has been proven time and time again that the weather is easily controlled and manipulated by the government and their unlimited budget. And so, since the weather is controlled, and these images on screen here are CGI images, they can show us anything. It's easy for them to paint the weather out to be the bad guy while pretending as if they don't control it. So the weather's being used as a weapon against the people. But here they are saying, oh, Mother Nature just provided a perfect firestorm. I wish Mother Nature wouldn't have did that. It's probably because of climate change, right? Yeah. Mother Nature's angry because all you humans are messing up the planet. So they're always trying to push this climate change narrative and push like, oh yes, these firestorms, these things are happening specifically because of climate change. But again, I can show you areas of California that are going to stay 60 degrees like all summer long, right? And so until I see this climate change hit every area equally, I'm not going to jump to conclusions that, oh yes, in Hawaii, climate change affects it so much so that there's perfect conditions for a firestorm. Sure. No, not buying that for a second.
And so you get actually faster winds on the downslope side or the lee side of a mountain range.
Dry vegetation is also a contributing factor. Here's Oregon State University professor Erica Fleischman. She's also the director of the Oregon Climate Change Research Institute.
You can think of it as plants being thirstier, so plants use more water when the air temperature is higher. So the water that is present tends to disappear more rapidly.
Fueling that problem, the spread of flammable non-native grasses brought in from around the world in areas of former farmland and forest. That's created large amounts of small, easily ignited materials that increase the risk and severity of fire. But what about the next big fire? Hawaiian officials say it will take several years and billions of dollars to rebuild the damage wrought by these fires. But scientists say human-caused climate change, driven by fossil fuel use, is increasing the frequency and intensity of such extreme weather events.
All right, see that last line, they're directly blaming fossil fuel usage. You see there? And directly linking these fires to climate change. And now look, what do we got on screen? A burnt up motorcycle. So we started with the burnt up bike, remember? And now we got a burnt up motorcycle. And then just a second ago, they showed a car, right? So it's the news is going around finding these selective shots to push. I don't think that this is a direct energy weapon attack. There's other channels claiming that this is direct energy weapon attack. I think this is more classic arson and maybe even some professional demolition as well. And then I think in these cases, like this car looks like it's set up, and then the motorcycle looks like it's set up as well. And then the bike at the beginning, it was set up. So they're purposely setting up these props. I don't think for a second that a direct energy weapon was used and then melted this bike down like the and burnt it to a crisp. No, 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 not falling for that. Instead, I'm thinking they bring in the motorcycle here as a prop. They bring in that car as a prop. They bring in that bicycle at the beginning as props. So they're specifically using these items and focusing in on them to like tug at your heartstrings. It's funny how they can use these items to portray that there's devastation, just lives lost and tons of damage done. Look at this blackened motorcycle, right? So they're directly linking this to climate change. And some of this like looks like they set it on fire and then they went in maybe even with tractors and then like brought it down and then they took the shot. So I've seen piles of rubble like this down the street from where I live. There was a Chinese restaurant down the street from where I lived that wasn't getting any business. And then mysteriously one night it burnt down and had a big hole, not completely, but there's a hole in the roof. And then tractors knocked down the rest of it. And then there was a pile of rubble that kind of looked like this. So you can burn a building up and then take tractors and knock down the rest of it into a pile of rubble and then take a picture like this. So don't automatically assume that like a laser beam just like blew the whole thing up or whatever. So you can, with classic forms of arson, such as like just setting it ablaze with some lighter fluid or gas, and then the structure's been completely manipulated by the fire and easily torn down, then you can take like a tractor, a bulldozer, or whatever, and just finish knocking down the rest of it into a pile of rubble. So I feel like some of this looks like it was professionally demolished and it's not just 100% fire. So the Paradise fires in California didn't quite resemble this. Some of the cars were actually melted into the ground and some of the houses were just obliterated into nothing but ash. Whereas there's lots of metal and stuff sticking up in these ones. So I'm not going to make a direct comparison to the Paradise California fires because, like I said, the rubble doesn't quite look the same. In the Paradise California fires, the rims of the cars were melted into the street in some cases. So I think if there is some sort of direct energy weapon technology or microwave weapon technology, I don't think that this is it. This looks more like actual just arson to specific areas that they wanted to burn down. Right? So I'm going to conclude that this fire is and the area destroyed is not that big, and they're making it out to be more grandiose and bigger than it actually is. So if anyone lives in the Maui area and could like walk around and do a little investigating, like this is a situation where if I lived near there, I would go walk around and kind of investigate, drive around and see like how much damage is done compared to what they're saying and what they're showing. It might just be specific areas that were set ablaze on purpose, and then they're trying to make it out like it's this big wildfire like taking over the whole island when it really might be a lot smaller than they're making it out to be. So I'm going to conclude arson much more likely than any wildfire. I'm going to say wildfire is a complete bullshit story. And I'm going to also conclude that climate change is definitely not the culprit. I don't believe that the globe is warming. I don't believe in a globe, and I don't believe the globe is warming. So trying to tie this fire or any fire back to climate change is a no-go for me. So that's where I'm going to leave it. The only way I could learn more is if somebody I know and trust can go investigate the island. So if anyone who watches my channel who lives in Maui can investigate and post any footage, that would be awesome. But until then, I'm just going to conclude this is some purposely set fires. All right, I hope y'all enjoy your weekend. This is just the opinion from Jake the Asshole. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I will see y'all next time. Peace.